series of the day really did deliver some amazing action filled with the finest corn-based Gwent names you could possibly be looking for. My name is Lionheart, and it is amazing to be back casting a Gwent Open. Joining me as always is my partner in crime, Theabeasty. Tia, how excited are you for the upcoming series?
Hey Lionheart, it is great to be back here at the very height of the Gwent competitive scene. And of course, for the sake of the community, we won't be making any more corny jokes. But we're fresh into a new expansion, and of course there are quite a few fresh faces to go along with it.
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. The weekend is over and I had so much fun casting Open number 3. The winner was Pyable, and he will be going through to the Masters that will take place at the end of this year. Now, I've noticed that some of you don't actually follow the competitive scene as religiously as some other people do, and that's okay. I'll be bringing the Open event right to your doorstep and giving you a sneak peek behind the scenes of what goes on in a caster's head when having to analyze all of these decks. I'll show you the pros and cons, the different matchups, and I'll also show you a game or two of one of my favorite decks in the whole series. I hope you have fun looking at the decks, and if you want to watch the actual Open event that took place this weekend, I will leave a link below and you are more than welcome to go watch it if you missed it by any chance. Alright, so let's start off with Pyable. He was of course the winner of this tournament and will be going through to the Masters. He already won a Masters as well, and there has only been 2 Masters events up until now. The third one will take place at the end of this year. Now, you'll see that there were just 4 factions throughout this entire tournament. Nobody brought Northern Realms and nobody brought Skellige. Every single person brought Lined Pockets as their Syndicate list. And there were only 2 variations of this list. The one was centered around the bounty archetype, whilst the other one was more old school with a little bit of variation here and there. As you can see in this specific one, we do see cards like Siggy, we do see Professor and Horsan Jr., and of course that goes very well along with cards like Tunnel Drill for absolute point slam removal. We also have Horsan Freakshow, 2 Fistic and a Fistic Trafficker, so there is potential for a little bit of toll removal, whereas other decks might include something like Graydon. We also see Grand Inquisitor Halved in this deck, which is a peculiar inclusion, but I quite liked it. With Grand Inquisitor Halved, you're able to play him proactively, he gives you a solid 10 for 10, and he's also a spender. Pyable often used this card to get 9 coins in order to get out the Flying Redanian, so I quite like him as an inclusion in this list, and it's definitely a list that you should all take a look at. Now, in this tournament we only saw 2 different variations of Nilfgaard. One was the Tactical Decision list, which is a Hyperthon list, like you can see here. The other is a more mid-range Terra Nova list with Imprisonment. Now, normally this list that Pyable brought is wildly unfavored when it comes to a Nilfgaard match where you're facing Imprisonment, but alas, Pyable managed to bring this list through. He always took it on blue coin, preferably, because with blue coin you have a better chance of winning round 1. You can tempo your way out of the round, and that's exactly what he did. He'd win round 1 and then take this list into a long round 3. Now, of course, you have some particularly strong combinations if you do that. Doadric is a card that allows you to put a card from your hand at the bottom of your deck and draw a card every single turn. So if you combine him with something like Snowdrop, she'll get 2 points every time as engine value, and Doadric will be able to help you thin out the cards of your hand that you don't want. Essentially, you always want to end up having something like the Imperial Golem in your deck, and that being the only card. You then get to play your win conditions like Triss Merigold, Yennefer Divination, and Zarthusius. Then thirdly, we have the Monsters list. Now, every single player brought this list except for Trusky. Trusky brought an Arachas Swarm list, and I take my hat off to him. We saw a little bit of variation with the Fruits of Isgith list. For instance, Pyable here has a Cave Troll Defender, where other people decided to bring the Rat Catchers. He also has an Elderbear as his 1 bronze and a Squirrel as the other. Of course, with Mamuna you need to combine your bronzes to get optimal value from her, so you have double Self-Eater, you have double Gun Cayenne, double Griffin, double Witch Apprentice, and double Kikimor Worker. This is a red coin list mostly, as it is so strong you never really want it on blue coin, as you will most likely end up overcommitting. Something like She Who Knows is also a great card to end the round with, because your opponent can't interact with it if you have last say. Otherwise they would just be able to lock or Yennefer it. Then lastly, a rather juicy list, Precision Strike. Now every player in the tournament brought the Precision Strike leader, but they either brought the Simlas meta, where we have a very big gourd at the end of it. It's very similar to my last list I posted on YouTube. And then you have Shiru. Now uninteractive Shiru is rather dangerous, because what Payable was doing here, his entire lineup was hard targeting Squirtle. He was making sure that he had optimal control and that he was able to win in a mirror match, especially with Precision Strike. So here you can see cards like Madoc going along very nicely with making a bomb, the D-Bomb, Northern Wind, Moondust, Nature's Rebuke. All of these cards just get rid of any Elven engines on the board like that. At the end of your long round 3 perhaps, you can even go with something like Shiru and just wipe the board. Now I did include one game in this YouTube video with this specific deck, just so you can see how spicy it is. Now in the finals, Payable did face off against Gran Mazorca, and Gran Mazorca just missed that win. It was his first time in an open event and he did really well. Interestingly enough, his name means big corn, and we also have another player in the open whose name means big corn. It's Big Cuckoo Rosina. So we had 2 players whose names quite literally translate to big corn. Why do they do this? I don't know. But now you do, and it's not something you'll be able to forget. Sorry. So here you do see a line pockets variation that makes use of the bounty archetype. We have the Witch Finder there at the top. She's of course able to give bounty to an enemy unit at the end of every turn if there aren't any bounties on your opponent's side of the board. She's quite handy, especially if you're going to combine her with your removal, like Tunnel Drill, Horse-on Freak Show, and Horse-on Junior. Now, we also have the Scoundrel in this list. Quite an interesting tech. What the Scoundrel does is, it plays for 12 points firstly, and then secondly, you can pull a bronze card out of your opponent's deck, place a bounty on it, and start pinging it with the Scoundrel. The Scoundrel is able to ping any card with bounty on it, but you will first want to kill the bronze you've placed on your opponent's side of the board. With deck manipulation like that, this is quite an interesting inclusion, as it's quite strong against decks like Monsters, where Mamuna needs a bronze duplicate in the deck. With Scoundrel you can manipulate it so that you get that bronze unit out of the board and kill it first. So I quite like this card, and it's definitely something you could consider adding in your own list. Then in contrast to Payable's Nilfgaard list, we see Imprisonment. Now Imprisonment normally prefers red coin, though we have seen players taking it on blue. It relies on the Arto Terra Nova meta. So essentially what you want to do is you want to give spying status to as many of your opponent's units as possible, and then when you decide to eventually play Terra Nova, you pick the strongest one of those and you're able to duplicate it, playing it yourself. This is a pretty strong assimilate list. It also has ample control, so you have 2 imprisonment locks with the leader ability, also damaging something by 3. You have a Tawny Giles, you have Assassination, and you have Amnesty. So a perfect list for the open, honestly. Something I definitely would have brought. And then thirdly, again, you'll see the Fruits of Isgith list. Now this one also has Cave Troll, so very similar to Payable's. But here at the bottom you see a little difference. Instead of the Elderberry, we have a Megascope. Now a Megascope is quite nice because it makes a copy of another bronze card. So if someone decides to manipulate your graveyard, they will struggle because you might have 2 copies of a card instead of 1. And then lastly, we have another Shiru list. Now this made for a very interesting match because Gran Mazorca, also known as Poisound, had to commit his gourd very early on. it played for something like 6 points. And then we had Piable playing Shiru, killing his own Shiru with nothing else on the board, just so Grand Mazorca couldn't get his leader out. It was a very cool game, and you guys should definitely go check it out. It was in the finals, and it was one of the weirdest games I have ever seen, if I'm going to be honest. Another card that is in this list is Xavier Lemons. Now, Xavier is a very expensive squirrel, just 2 provisions more, but you can use him every turn. So if you want to, you can start cleaning your opponent's graveyard with every turn. So again, if you're playing against monsters, you could start banishing those bronze cards that Mamuna just loves to eat. Here you see Big Kukuruzina, that does also mean big corn. He's from Russia. He also played a bounty variant. In his, you can see he brought Graydon instead of Scoundrel. So Graydon goes very nicely together with something like the Witchfinder. You also see a tactical decisionless, meaning he made use of the Hyperthin version. He also has Madoc in this version of the deck, and Ramon. So definitely something unique you didn't really see a lot of in this tournament, and quite nice if you can pull it off. Then again, we do have monsters. In this monsters list, we have Yerden. So Big Cuckoo definitely brought a card or two in some of these very meta lists just to make it stand out a little bit. Lastly, we have Precision Strike. It's also the Shiru variation, no shocker there. And here we have Lord Triss. He faced off against Piable in the last quarterfinals. It was quite close, but Piable obviously did win. Line Pockets list we see here, a very old school one actually. This is something you might recognize from the ladder a few months ago. You have Jock that obviously will turn into a veiled unit by round 3. You have Professor, Cleaver, Philippa, Tavern Brawl, as well as Tunnel Drill. Then we go over to his imprisonment list. Again, this is a standard Terra Nova list, but you do see he included Bribery, which is quite a fun card. Then we have the Precision Strike meta list. Now, this is your very standard one. It has Feign Death, Simlas to play 2 orbs at once, for example. We have the 5 provision elves like Sorceress of Doblothana, Alvin Seer, the Whisperer. I'm a big fan of this list, but a lot of people decided to target it specifically. So it was interesting to see someone like Lord Triss banning Shiru merely because he was afraid of his list being targeted. So it was a good ban for sure, but it unfortunately allowed Piable to bring his monsters list. Monsters was banned quite a lot in this tournament, not Syndicate like you'd expect. So here we have another monsters list. Now this one doesn't actually have the Defender, instead it has the Ratcatcherus. We also see a Megascope included. Next we have Trusky. Now Trusky played very well. It was his first time ever in an open event. He made it through to the semi-finals, and Trusky brought a Bounty Line Pockets list. He brought a Hyperthin Tactical Decision list. He also brought the Simlas meta here in the Precision Strike area, and he's the only one to bring Arachas Swarm. So I take my hat off to him, and just absolute GG for playing this list. It's quite a cool list. The whole goal of this list is to reduce your opponent's units down to 1 point units, so you can eventually feed your Glasty pet. So that's quite nice. You also have a lot of uninteractive plays if you want to. You have things like Oz's Thunder, Spores, Natural Selection. You also have Lacerate for some wide damage. Just imagine a row full of elves each getting 2 points of damage. That's just insane. And then we also have a very sneaky inclusion here. We have Caranthier and Mamuna, and the only target that Caranthier has is Mamuna. So if you don't draw into it, your Caranthier is bricked. So that's a greedy play here from Trusky, but a brilliant one. Mamuna is so strong, and we do have the necessary bronze cards to set her up with Griffin, Kikimo Worker, and Elderbear. We also have Sunset Wanderers for some extra tempo, and it does allow you to thin, especially after having used Naglfar, because remember, Naglfar allows you to put a gold card on top of your deck, and Sunset Wanderers will draw that when it's played. So a lot of 5-head strategies here. Then we also have the Precision Strike meta. Interesting bronze cards here. We have 2 D-Bombs and 2 Markham Ales. Ales are quite nice because they not only boost a card, they also take away its lock. So some people opted for this above something like Dryad's Caress, which is interesting. Alright, then we have Nekwiz from Russia. He also started off in the quarterfinals facing Trusky. He fell out in the quarterfinals. It was his first time playing in an open event. He played very well. And we also see the Bounty archetype here with Graydon and Witchfinder. We see an Imprisonment list, the standard version thereof with Terra Nova. We see Fruits of Isgith, and we see Precision Strike meta. And here we see Wong ID, an absolute master in Gwent. He's an exceptional player, but he fell out whilst facing Pyabol in the semi-finals. That was one of the games Lionheart and I got to cast, and it was very fun to see. We do see he brought the Line Pockets list, this one with Graydon as well as Witchfinder. He has Imprisonment with Arto Terra Nova. We see Precision Strike here, the Simlas meta, and we do see Fruits of Isgith list. Again, the standard one you have seen a lot by now. Alright, and here is Shaggy, another familiar face you should know by now. He also had quite a few interesting decks. Now, we have the normal Line Pockets list. We have Imprisonment, but with Masquerade Ball. Now, nobody else brought Masquerade Ball in their list, so this was quite an interesting choice from Shaggy's side. We do see the Usurper Officer as well. Nobody else decided to bring anything like this list. Then we have Fruits of Isgith. Now, immediately you notice he has Renew, which makes for some pretty scary combinations. He's able to commit cards a little bit earlier in the game and then bring them back to life later. So, again, very interesting. Nobody else did this. And then lastly, Precision Strike. He went for Vana Dayen. Vana Dayen, of course, allows you to place 2 Waylays into your hand. And if you shuffle them into your deck and you still have your original 2, Simlas has the potential of drawing 4 cards out at once. Now, this is of course a very interesting combination. It's not easy to pull off, but it's possible. And we have Necromancy here to also renew something, like one of the elves, of course. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave your favorite decks down below in the comments from the open lineup I just discussed. I will be picking one from each faction and putting them together in another video to show you exactly what they are capable of. I already have a favorite or 2, but I'm very curious to see which ones you're interested in seeing. I hope you have a good week, guys, and I will see you later. It wasn't the plan at first, I can tell you this. Okay, so we have 2 bricks. And we are on blue coin, not ideal, but we're very favored in this matchup, as we have seen in the open event. This sheerless hard targets Squirtle, so I'm excited. And we do have a proactive play, which is very nice. Perhaps a little bit too many tall units? Probably not, to be fair. Yeah, I'm gonna shuffle it away for now. So we'll start off with our Pyrotech in the melee row. Do that because we can. I also found you on YouTube first. See, that makes me so happy because I didn't realize that there's like an entirely different community on YouTube. That's why I want to put a bit more effort into it as well.
May your sword and arm be one.
Okay, so he's quickly going to realize the type of list this is. I always feel like I have an unfair advantage after casting a weekend because I study these decks like it's a university examination, and I see the players play the lists, so I know exactly how they tend to do it. But this one isn't too 5-head, to be fair. You just remain on interactive, get last say, and you're good. Sorceress, nope.
Spit it out already. I don't have all day.
It's not happening, friend. Not today. Mad Dog of Wadia. Thanks for the follow. I love good clean decks. People are making decks to counter decks that counter the meta. And then we go back all the way to square one. That's the way it is intended, I'd say. What do we want to get out? Maybe another Pyrotech? Yeah. I started watching YouTube before I started watching Twitch, but once I came to Twitch, I prefer the live interaction. Yeah, Twitch really does hit differently. I prefer it too now. Nope. Okay, so we can almost pass. To be fair, he isn't playing the normal ST list with the Brocklon Sentinels at least. Signor von Bubenchickheim and Silverest, thanks for the follows. Half the vids on YouTube are reaction vids on things happening on Twitch, to be honest. I mean, yeah, most of my deck guides at least are games I played while streaming, but I include a section in the beginning explaining it. Let's see. I would like access to Gord. No. I mean, I feel like we go for a long round, right? We just go for a long round. Of course we do. What was the first Gwent meta everyone came into chat? Well, when I came back after my year off following beta, I had the Visigoth of Corvo deck with Dandelion. That quickly became meta, let me tell you that. And also Deathwish meta. Oh, that was so nice. I had such a good time doing that. And ooh, we are missing 2 win conditions. Oh, thank goodness. I'm going to be honest here, I didn't actually care much about this. I'm just going to shear them all. I'm gonna start off by killing this though, as that's going to continuously grow. I can then play my Sabertooth. Oh, this is gonna be very fun. Okay, so I obviously have the option of going into Isengrim's Council and then Shiro, boosting him by 2. But if he continuously plays 3-point cards, it's a trap deck. I knew it. I knew it had trap elements in it. But that's fine. So already Shiro has 3 targets. At least. Siren, too late. It's too late, my friend. I'm not yet playing Sire Synthesis just in case he has Vernasil, because it will then be able to ping off Vernasil, of course. Oh? Are we gonna boost them all by 1? Ah, sure time. Yeah? Or not yet? Are we gonna be greedy, chat? We probably should Shiro just so Vernasil doesn't get all the pings. Oh no. That's a serpent trap most likely. Sorry, I just did some calculations there. Just some calculations. So we can now ping Aileron twice and then ping that Alpha at the back and kill it. He's gonna do it again, isn't he? Oh, I have to ping him too. Ah, I forgot. Damn it. It's okay. We can ping this. It works out quite nicely.
I am who I need to be. My pain serves a purpose.
There's nothing I want to banish. I should have played that in the range room most likely. Because this is now just gonna get an extra 2 points of damage. Oh, because of Shiru? Yeah, I'm trying to calculate a lot of Shiru options. His last card, gonna be turning all of those into... Yeah, see? I got 2 points of extra damage there. It's my fault.
Not your lucky day.
Huh. Works out nicely for my Sabertooth. Harold isn't gonna be too big though. Oh no, okay, it's fine. He missed his card. Alas, Vivin. Okay, so there was a misplay or two on my part, but we still win by quite a few, so GG.